Hello, hello, hello. It's Knits for Sanity and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping in. I hope you stick around. And if you are a return visitor, thank you for coming back. I say it every time, but I really truly mean it. I love it when you come back and stop in, and I really love it when you leave a comment that even just says hello. It means a lot to me, so thank you. So today I am with you for another whip and chat. Much like my last whip and chat, I am trying to crank through a number of these small projects I have. This would typically be what I call a weekend challenge type project, which is usually a smaller project that I do from a budget company most of the time, not always, but quite often from a budget friendly company. And then I give you updates along the way, and I give you my final impression on the end result. However, I did not have time to do a weekend challenge this past weekend. And so I thought for my whip and chat today, why don't I just work on this little painting with you guys? So this comes from GBFKE, which I just recently did an unboxing for this. So if you want, you can go back and check out that video. It's just this super cute partial drill. It says it's a 30 by 30, but I did measure, and it's actually not quite completely square. I'm trying to remember. It's like a 25 by 24 painting, like if you measure the actual work area. But it's really cute, perfect for the holidays, and it will replace the autumn one that I did last month. So, if you are like totally new and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this woman even talking about? A whip and chat? What? WHIP simply stands for work in progress. So you are welcome to craft along with me, or if you are doing chores or exercising, taking a walk, maybe you're out with the dog right now, you know, whatever it is, that's something that kind of a mindless activity and you want some company. That's what a whip and chat is. I'm just here to chat with you for a little while you are working on something of your own. Maybe you're actually doing a morning commute. Whatever it is, I'm just here to keep you company for a little bit of time. So that is a whip and chat. The things that I'm using today, there have been no changes, which if you're familiar with me, I go through typically pretty long periods of using the same items. That's just kind of how I work. And then I kind of go through and I like switch everything up all at the same time. So my drill tray is still from Bella Art de Nicole. They make fantastic drill trays. This does come with a lid that I was going to see if I could quickly find for you. And I can't, but it slides on here. It's a perfect fit. I don't ever really use the lids because I don't ever keep my drills stored in a drill tray. But some people actually, they will store all of their drills that way. And so then a lid is super important. Or if you are able to pause midway through a project and not like completely clean everything up, that's another great time to have a lid for your drill tray. My pen is also from Butterfly Effect Wares. And again, there's kind of this ongoing saga with me and finding the perfect drill pen. In short, this one is super duper close. If we could just like take off one bump and make it a 2-bump pen exactly like this size, it would be ideal. I am not a huge multi-placer. I only ever use a 4-placer as my multi-placer and then a single placer, of course. So, I mean, I do some multi-placing, but I cap it out at just a 4 multi-placer. And the putty that I'm using is from Randa's Crafty Corner today, which I'm going to have to find that putty back because I will need to put some more in here pretty soon. But today it's actually Randa's Crafty Corner. Taking a break from my Mary Mud. This is it's a latte scent, some kind of a latte scent. I got to find that. I need to show you guys. Here we go. It's a spiced latte, and it just seemed really appropriate for November, so that is what I am using. It's super yummy smelling. I have it both in my multi-placer as well as my single placer. Being the kind of project this is, I don't think I will probably end up using my multi-placer at all. It'll probably only be a single placing project, but still using that putty in here. And I think that's enough to get us started. I will point out something that is kind of interesting about this particular canvas and project. So I pulled out these drills and they looked like the right drills to me, but then I'm looking at this canvas and I'm seeing the letter A and the letter B as some of my symbols. And I don't have A or B as a code on any of these bags. So I'm like, that's kind of peculiar. So then I go up and I look at the legend on the side here, and there are 11 colors or different types of special drills that are used in this project. And then here are their symbols. So when I compare, the number 10 color, they say it's letter B is the symbol on the canvas, and it is a round red. Number 11, they're using as the letter C, and it is indeed like this little marquee shape. Letter A, number 9, is indeed a gold round drill. So this was not marked the best, in my opinion. This should have been, either these bags should have then been labeled A, B, C, or on the actual chart, it should have been 9, 10, 11. So I just kind of wanted to point that out. That's a little bit peculiar. That is not consistent. So you just got to be a little bit sharp when you notice things like that. The other thing that I will tell you now before I get going too is how I do a kit like this is because it's so small, I go through and I do one color at a time. So I'll start with color 1. And then when I am done with this color, I will put any of the leftover drills on one of these generic green trays that come with like every budget-friendly project that you ever get. And I will stack all of these extra drills on top of each other in these green trays until I get completely done with this project. And that is so that if I see a drill that I forgot somewhere, I can very easily go back and figure out which one I have to put down. So I wanted to point that out now before I got too invested in this and I forgot to say what I was doing. All right, so let's get started. My last Whip and Chat, I gave you updates. I think I managed to give you updates on my older 2 children. I especially updated you, I know, on my firstborn, my oldest. And I feel like I did get through number 2 a little bit as well. So I think we need to start with child number 3, which seems appropriate because her birthday is actually less than a week from now. It is currently Tuesday when I am doing this, and her birthday is next Monday. She's going to be 12 years old. She's in the 7th grade. She recently finished up her first year of school volleyball. I want to make sure I'm on the screen here. I mean, for me, I feel like Whip and Chats, it's not strictly necessary that you have to see what the person is doing, because often the person listening is doing their own thing too. But I know some of you do like to actually watch me place the drills. So I want to make sure that you can actually see what I'm doing here. Yeah, so she just finished her first real season of school sanctioned volleyball. She has done a couple of like intramural leagues since 5th grade. But 7th grade is the first year in our state where it is a school sanctioned sport. And if you have been listening along to my Whip and Chats, you'll know that there were tryouts. And if the coach had decided to do cuts and bring the team down to just 10 girls, which was the original plan, my daughter would not have made the team. And I talked about that pretty extensively earlier on, so I'm not going to go into it in detail again. Instead, just, go back and listen to former Whip and Chats. And her coach, however, I think in part because new coach, young coach. She has just a fiance or boyfriend and a young daughter, looks to be about 12 to 14 months old. She did not do any cuts. I think it was just too hard for her to do that. And I think she was also considering the fact that you're only dealing with 7th graders. A lot of these girls have not had exposure to volleyball before. So how can you really know the girls that are actually going to continue being your strongest players throughout the season unless you give them a chance? So she did 0 cuts. So there were 17 girls on this volleyball team. There are only 6 players on a volleyball court. So they had almost 3 times the number of required players. And she divided them into like tiers, if you will. So there was like the first tier, second tier, and then my daughter was a 3rd tier player, which she was really bummed about. I was not exceptionally surprised, but I did feel bad for her. She really, really loves the sport, and it is something that, if she could continue with it, I think she would. But regardless, even though she was 3rd tier, she did get playtime. The first couple of games, she never stepped foot on the court. And that was kind of hard to watch. And I felt really bad for her. She was not the only one that had that happen, though. There were a couple other girls. There were 1 or 2 other girls just like her where they didn't get any playtime initially. So she was not alone in that. And that was good. But I got to tell you, when she did get playtime, she started always getting to be in the 3rd game, which the way that volleyball works is it's, at least at the 7th grade level, it changes quite a bit as you get older. But at the 7th grade level, every time you play another team, it's 3 games. The first 2 games go to a score of 25, but you have to win by 2. So you can go up to a score of 27, I believe, before they just finally say, okay, enough is enough. And then the 3rd game, you only play to 15. And again, with that same, you need to win by 2 rule. And by, I think, the 4th school they played, maybe, she was introduced into the 3rd game, and then she pretty much consistently always played that 3rd game. So it was the shortest game of the 3, but she was getting regular and consistent playtime. And she did kind of have a little bit of a niche, if you will. She did have a skill that she sometimes, not all the time, sometimes just was phenomenal at, and that was underhand serving. So, of course, they encourage overhand serving, and it's something that you are kind of expected to be able to do in 7th, 8th grade volleyball. But in 7th grade, it's not a requirement yet. You are allowed to still serve underhand. And I will say there was really only 1 girl on the team that was really good at an overhand serve. And that was about it. Everyone else, it was kind of a hit or miss, And Evie just did underhand. And she managed to get the team a lot of points doing that. Because the other thing about that age level is there's not a whole lot of volleying that happens. Pretty much if you have 1 really good server, you stand a pretty decent chance of winning the game. Because you serve, the other team can't volley it back, so, you get a point. By the end of the season, though, it's so cool to watch sports at that age level because there was obvious huge improvement. There were some just phenomenal volleying sessions going back and forth over that net. Just amazing. I mean, to the point where even when our girls eventually did lose the point, we still applauded because they did such a good job going after that ball and returning it for so many turns. So Evie did find her own little special niche with underhand serving, and she had a couple of just phenomenal games that way. She did a couple of times, I believe, she did return the ball and get a point from it. So, it wasn't a bad season for her. I think she felt pretty good about what she'd done. We will see what next year holds. The fact of the matter is, we can't get her involved in all of these additional camps and leagues that are available. There is nothing close to our house. The closest place is a solid hour away, maybe even just over an hour away from our house. And there's just no way. With having 3 other kids and everybody has their own events and activities, we just cannot afford doing that, especially with something that is that kind of distance from our house. So the sad reality is she's not going to get the exposure time to be able to really practice and learn skills and perfect skills. And that breaks my heart. I wish desperately it was something we could do for her, and we just can't. And it's interesting because even when I was looking at the girls on the team who were really good and who come from upper middle class families, which in our area, if you are like middle class or upper middle class, you are hands down, you are a wealthy family here. All of those were the girls who were like tier 1 girls. They are all the girls who are able to do all these extra activities. And also of note, they all only had like 1 other siblings. So it was families of only 2 kids with a true middle or upper middle class income. And that hurts to see. It's just that very sad reminder that social structure is alive and well. And it hurts. It does hurt. I mean, I didn't really point any of that out to my daughter, but she's really, really smart. My guess is she saw it. She is aware of it. She knows what's going on. So it just breaks my heart, and then I think about all of the kids that don't have the opportunity to do any kind of extracurricular activity because their families just can't make time for it at all. Even if your kid is able to stay after school for their sport practice, they still have to get home somehow. And carpooling should always be an option, but it's not. And then there's always still expenses involved in a sport. So a lot of kids don't do sports simply because they can't afford to, and their schools don't always have the funding or ability to help out. If you need tennis shoes to play basketball and your family can't afford decent tennis shoes and your school can't afford to buy you a pair, then you're not playing basketball. So I try and remember that kind of stuff when I start feeling really bad or guilty that I can't do more for my children. I try and remind myself that there are kids who unfortunately are in an even more difficult situation. And I encourage everyone to kind of keep that in mind. Hold off on the judgment because you don't know what some of these kids and some of these families are going through, man. It can be pretty surprising and pretty ugly sometimes. So daughter number 1 is done with volleyball. She originally was like, yeah, I'm not even going to bother trying out next year. Instead, I'm just going to do cross country, which, guys, this cracks me up. This child, she hates running. I mean, she loathes running. When she did tackle football and they would run, she was always the second to last kid running. Always. I mean, always substantially further behind everybody else. And a lot of it was just because she hated it so much. She would take her sweet time even getting started running. And she kind of runs like her butt's too heavy, like her butt's dragging behind her. Meaning she does not have good form. But if she wants to do cross country, I am totally behind it, 100%. I think it would be phenomenal for her. I think it would be such a good thing for her to do. And it may, next year would actually be a really, really, really good year for her to give it a try, because next year she will still be middle school. She'll still be 8th grade. Which is good because you only run anywhere from like 1.5 miles to 2 miles in 8th grade versus a steady 5K or 3.1 miles starting in high school. So it's a shorter distance. It's a shorter time commitment. It's only about a 6-week long season. So it's a shorter time commitment. But also she won't have either of her older sisters on the team with her. Next year, both of her sisters will be high school cross country. So while they will all still be doing the same sport, Evie won't have any competition from her siblings. And I gotta tell you, I mean, I love my daughters, but my poor Guinevere can sometimes endure quite a bit of judgment from her older sisters. And often it's because they feel threatened by her, because she is very social, she is very well liked, she is very intelligent. And my older two, they often can only see all the things that Evie has going for her that they're jealous about, that they don't recognize all the ways in which she so desperately just wants to be included in their, their sister club, if that makes sense. And it is an issue that we have addressed so many times. It is an issue that has been a constant since pretty much the time that Evie was born. And to complicate it, Evie is definitely different from my older two. I mean, all three of my girls are so individual and so unique, but Evie is actually very, very social. Evie is one of those people where alone time is like torture for her. Versus for me, alone time is like a piece of heaven. Not talking is darn near to impossible for her. For me, just sitting there listening is often my preferred mode of existence when I'm with other people. And that's how it is with my older two as well. So even though they are all quite different, Evie is probably the most outside of what they're like. And then especially when you consider that the way that teachers have always categorize them too, and because they've had the same teacher before in the same semester, so the teachers get to know all three girls quite well, and quite often they categorize it as like you have Evie over here, and then my oldest Sylvia over here, and Veda. No, I said that wrong. I was going chronologically. Evie over here, my middle daughter Veda over here, and Sylvia's kind of like in the middle, kind of balances them out. Well, it's Evie and Veda, though, who are together chronologically, and they are the most disparate in temperament and personality. So when those are the two next to each other chronologically, and the one that could be like the mediator is the oldest, it doesn't quite work out. Instead, it ends up being, my older two that kind of group together, and then, number 3 over here. So it's something that it's a constant work in progress. We're always talking about it. And I hope that when they get older and as they reach adulthood, that they will remain friends. And Evie hopefully then will find a far more inclusive situation with her siblings, is my hope. I have mentioned it before, but in our teeny tiny little house, we do make the younger 2 girls share a room. And that is, all of my children have to share rooms. It's just the way that it is. But we intentionally put Veda and Evie together because they are the most different. And so we wanted to force them to figure out how to build a relationship with one another. Put them in a situation where they have no choice but to learn to live with one another. And I have 0 regrets. None, because I actually was talking with Veda about this last week, maybe at the pediatrician's office, actually, about, Veda was kind of complaining about having to share a room and stuff. And I just said, well, except think about some of the advantages that are there with sharing a room. Think about all of those late night conversations that you have with Evie. And she did, she was like, yeah, that's true. And that does happen a lot. So it was encouraging to see that there does seem to be a little bit of recognition that, yeah, I do love my sister. I really enjoy talking with her. So I think it was positive. At least that's how I am reading the situation, is that, my middle daughter was starting to put together that, my younger sister is pretty awesome. I do enjoy having those late night talks with her, and I am really thankful for that. And she did almost sound kind of sad at the idea of possibly not having those conversations with a sibling. So, I think it was good. I think it was really good. So youngest daughter is also doing student council, which, she has meetings every Monday after school. She was telling me yesterday some of what she started doing. I don't feel like there's anything major going on right now. And she has only in the last week really gotten majorly involved because last week they had Halloween. So they had planned everything for Halloween. But because Evie was in volleyball, her involvement was really, really minimal. So really only starting this week has she begun to become pretty heavily involved in it. So I'll have to keep you posted. I know right now they're doing a food drive, a canned food drive, and she made the 7th grade drop-off box, she said, is what she did yesterday. So, I know she's involved in that, but beyond that, I guess I'm not sure what else she's been doing with it right now. And that might be it, because like I said, yesterday was the first meeting where I think she was really assigned a lot of tasks. So we'll see. She has all A's in school. Just a bunch of A's, straight A's all across the board, including her geometry class, which she has to take at the high school. That's the last hour of her day. Don't tell my oldest this, but Evie's grade in geometry, which is the same class my oldest daughter takes, which for my oldest daughter, she was in advanced math. So she's 1 year ahead in math. And then Evie is in super, super advanced math. So she's in math 3 years ahead. And it could be argued 4 because she's also extremely young for her grade. But Evie's grade is a full letter grade higher than her sister right now. So yeah, she has a brain for math, clearly. And then the part that always gets me is I always feel like Evie's writing skills really struggle. Just having essentially being an English teacher without actually being an English teacher. I always feel like her writing skills are not up to snuff. But then when you actually compare it to her peers, she's still way above average. It's just my older two are so far above average with their ELA skills that it makes their sister look honestly like average to slightly below average to me. But she's not. She's actually also like substantially above average there too, which just, I mean, it just shocks me anyway. And in general, it just shocks me that she is as brilliant as she is, because she just watches YouTube videos, and usually they're not like, I don't find them to be like super entertaining YouTube videos. You know, it's watching other people play video games or other people talking about video games, you know, all that kind of stuff that I truly do not understand. All right, so comment about this painting so far. I am struggling to get these red gems on here because they are slightly too large for this painting. So I am having issues with them popping up because they don't quite fit. Or issues of like here, we see the guidelines a lot because they don't quite fit. So just a little note on this project. I'm having definitely noted substantial difficulties with that. So that's kind of a bummer. I'm back. Sorry, my husband had to make a phone call. And if you are not aware, my husband works from home. He actually, I went from thinking that I essentially was going to be a single parent for most of the week, because my husband got a new job, a promotion that was going to have him drive a considerable distance from our house every day. And so I was all like prepped and prepared for that. And his first day on the job, 5 hours in, the governor sent everybody home because, yes, it was March of 2020. So first day on the job, pandemic hit, and he's been home ever since. I mean, he could, if he wanted, he could go into work. But there's, I mean, really the risks for that far outweigh the benefits. Just the cost for commuting, the fact that we don't actually own any reliable transportation, and then the time too. He'd be on the road like 3 hours a day. So he's home full time. So occasionally, you know, I gotta work around his schedule, and that was one time. So, but while he was on that phone call, I did bust through and get a little bit more of this done, and I'm still having the same issues. I thought maybe if I can like just focus on laying drills, maybe they'll fit better. They're really not. I mean, I'm still struggling to fit all of these drills, so I can't make nice straight lines. If I do try and get them straight, then the drills kind of buckle, they pop up. So these drills are not fitting this canvas very well. So that is a disappointment. So if you will, that's kind of like the first real strike against this. I mean, the symbols are annoying and you got to be paying attention, but okay, not a deal breaker. But having drills that don't fit on the canvas is kind of a big deal. So I'm curious to see, is this going to be the case with every drill? I don't know, but I'm disappointed and I'm getting frustrated because I want these drills to fit and I keep pushing them to try and make them fit, but then everything goes out of line and then I have these wonky lines. Like, you know, can you see? I got wonky lines going on because they don't fit on this canvas really nice. See, and then I try fixing them and I make it worse. And, see, that was a popped up drill. Oh, there's another popped up drill. Oh my gosh. This is really, I don't know. I'm going to try my darndest to finish this. But every time, you see, every time I try and move one to fix it, it shifts the whole line and it just makes it worse. Ugh. Yeah, this for me is kind of about a deal breaker. So I will try very hard to get this done to show you guys, but I'm getting really frustrated. Like, really frustrated. All right, so anyway, yes, youngest daughter, student council, and yeah, it is her birthday next Monday. She's going to be 12 years old. She really wants to have her friends over this weekend, but I mean, our house is a pigsty and we have like no room. So I want to check the weather, and if the weather looks good, I'm going to say yes to a Sunday afternoon get together with a bonfire is kind of what I am thinking. She already sort of knows like what she wants to do with her friends. I guess she's created a like who knows me best quiz, which is so heavy. That is so heavy. And here's the thing. To some of us that sounds like really like self-centered. I mean, it is her birthday, so it's like, okay, yeah, you can do what you want. I mean, it is your birthday, but for her and her friends, that's like a great activity. Like, they will love that. So she already knows kind of what she wants to do with them. But then what she wants for her birthday lunch, it cracks me up. It was a childhood favorite of mine, but like, I've never met really anybody else that's like, oh yeah, I just love that meal. It is so yummy. She wants, it's creamy mushroom soup mixed with milk, and then you serve it on bread and you eat it with a fork. So it's kind of like an open-faced sandwich. And tuna fish. I forgot the tuna fish. I forgot the most important part. So you take like 1 can of condensed cream of mushroom soup, and then you fill the can about halfway with milk, and you add 1 can of tuna, and you mix them all together, heat them slowly, and you just serve it over bread. I mean, you can toast the bread if you want. I never did that as a kid, and like when I served it to my kids when they were little, I never toasted the bread either. That's it. That's what she wants for her birthday lunch. So, I mean, we will gladly do that, but I'm thinking her friends are probably not going to care for that. So I'm thinking we will do a no meal birthday get together, and instead we will just serve a bunch of snacks and birthday cake. So I got to talk to her about that when she gets home from school today and let her know that's kind of what I'm thinking. Of course, this is dependent on the weather. If the weather is going to be bad, then, oh boy, I don't know. I guess then we're going to have to try and squeeze them in the house. We did it last year, so we can do it again if we have to, but they really don't fit. We really don't have space. So I'm just hoping it's going to be nice enough. I mean, it's probably going to be pretty cold, but with the bonfire and everything, they will be fine. I'm not really worried about temperatures, so that's kind of what I'm thinking. So I got to talk to her about that. All right, so then we will do a pause here because I got to talk to you about something that's kind of important, and it's related to my channel, and I desperately need your input. Obviously, we are sort of at an approaching holiday season. In the United States, it kind of almost feels like Halloween through New Year's is like one huge holiday season, but then especially Thanksgiving through New Year's. That is like hardcore holiday season over here. And last year for the holidays on my channel, I did a couple of different things. I had the Add More Zest Advent calendar, both like the 12-day gift calendar, as well as the 25-day calendar that I worked on. And then I also had, and then what I did with that is, I should probably finish that up actually. So what I did with that is every day for the 25 days, I would do a video where I would be working on the Advent calendar after I opened up the first 12 days worth of gifts. Then I'd work on the Advent calendar and I would share a Christmas story. They were almost all, if not all of them, were my own personal Christmas stories. And then as soon as I was done with that Christmas story, I would just like fast forward the rest of the video till I got done with that square, and you'd listen to some Christmas music in the background. And then when that square was done, I'd show you the completed project. The videos were about 15 to 20 minutes long. So they end up being short little videos. Usually was about just over an hour of my time. So that was the one. And then the other one is Happy Mermaid Yarn, which I absolutely love these ladies. They dye magnificent. They do a magnificent dye job with base yarns. They had a daily advent last year, and I would share like a historical or interesting factoid about Christmas. And I think I kept it exclusively Christmas last year. I don't think I introduced like Hanukkah or anything like that. I think it was really strictly Christmas all of last year. And then I would open up that day's Advent item from Happy Mermaid Yarn. And those were very short videos. They were like 6 to 10 minutes, generally speaking. But I offered 2 videos every single day. Plus, then I would also do a special unboxing on Fridays. All right. Well, that was way too much for me. I reached total burnout by the end. I could not do that. So I also I don't have the Happy Mermaid Yarn Advent this year. They did it differently this year too. It's not like how they did last year where you got little mini hanks every day. So I don't have that this year. So that's out. I did get Add More Zest's Advent calendar for this year. It's not holiday themed though. Like, it's really cool. I don't know if you've seen it. But it's not 25 individual images. You actually only create 12 images. And then I did buy an add-on where you can then attach those 12 images to a calendar. So, every month then you see the little image that you made during the holidays. I mean, it's really neat. Like, I love, love, love the concept, but it's not Christmassy at all. So I'm not sure how I feel about doing that next month. Like, I'm kind of at a loss. So I want your input. Do you want to see the Add More Zest calendar and a similar approach to like what I did last year? Or would you rather I kit up a completely different holiday themed diamond painting, and maybe I make it like a mystery? You don't know what it is that I'm working on, and it will slowly be revealed throughout the month. As it's one of the few times that I will use cover sheets, because if I don't use cover sheets. I don't really care to use them, but I would for this. I would carefully cover it up with cover sheets, and I would remove one day at a time, and you would slowly see the image emerge. So that's another option. And then I want to know too, do you want me to try to continue sharing holiday related stories? I will be honest, after sharing at least 25 of them last year, I'm kind of short on my own personal stories. I mean, obviously there are definitely more, but I'm going to struggle to come up with 25 more personal Christmas stories. It's going to be hard. And not have them be repeats. Like, I would have to listen to everything I did last year and make sure nothing's a repeat. But I could definitely look into retelling different Christmas stories if you would be interested in that, or sharing subscriber Christmas stories, which would mean then you would have to share your Christmas stories with me and I'd have to relay them back to you. What do you guys want to see? What's gonna make you want to tune in? What is going to make you feel like this is holiday-like? I want to know. I want to know your input. Because really, I do it for you too. I want you to enjoy it. So, if you could let me know, I'd really appreciate it. Or any other ideas you have. I am absolutely open to anything. I'm quickly running out of time to figure out what it is that I'm going to do for the holidays. I don't know. So, I am open to any and all suggestions. So there, that is my little break, my little channel info break, and I need your help. Please, please, please let me know. Come back with something. I am desperate, guys. Desperate. And let's talk about my son for a little bit. I think I just knocked my camera here. Sorry if you jiggled around a little bit. So my son did have his very first performance a couple of Fridays ago. It was a little Halloween dance. He loved it. He just loved it. If I can manage to figure it out, I'll put in just this little tiny clip of him doing his thing up there so you can kind of see that. Cute as the dickens. He is so proud of that dance jacket, his team jacket. Oh, he is so proud of that thing. And by the way, it is coral, not pink. I can't remember if I talked about that in the last Whip and Chat or not, but it is coral, not pink. He was very insistent on that. And I think that's because his dance teacher was heavily advertising it as coral and not pink. So my son, of course, immediately walks away with that. And I think the reason why the dance teacher was very heavily emphasizing that it was coral is because she has my son on the team. And so she was worried about him being worried about having a pink jacket. She really needn't have been. I don't think my son would have cared if it were pink. He's just so stinking proud to have that jacket, which is good because that jacket cost an arm and a leg, people. Oh my word. But I mean, it's all paid for, and I bought the larger size. Like, they did a fitting for them his first day of class, and a couple months ago, and he was in between two sizes. So I, of course, went with the larger of the two, and it is definitely big on him. But at that price, no, he is going to be able to wear this jacket for a couple of years. If, Lord willing, he's going to be wearing this thing for a couple of years because it was way expensive. Every year you have to buy a new jacket, but at least he can then still wear this one. So, yeah. But he did a great job, and then it was at a trunk or treat, and it was just him and then my husband and me. The girls, let's see, 2 of them were at home. And then my oldest was at the last cross country. Oh, I knocked my camera again. I'm sorry, guys. The last cross country event for the season, but she was not going to run. She did not have to run in regionals. Well, first she couldn't because she was not one of the 7 fastest runners on her team. So she was not running for regionals. And then there was an optional race that she could have done, but she did not want to. And I had told her, if you run, I will go. And then Dad will just take your brother. But she decided she wasn't going to run. So it was just my husband and me and Havelock. And I think my son loved it. It was a really special type outing for him, having that kind of mom and dad time. So then we did the trunk or treat afterward. And my husband and I kind of marveled at how easy it was just having this one kid. And he's an 8-year-old 2nd grader. He's the only one we had there. It was the only kid we were responsible for. And it was so easy. He had run to each trunk and get his candy and come back to us. And then he'd go off and hit the next couple. It was so easy versus I associate yet these types of events with when we had the 3 little girls. And that was so hard. It was so hard. I had this huge stroller and it had 2 seats. And then there was like a little riding board on the back for my oldest. And it was a nightmare. And they were kind of difficult kids. They all had huge sensory needs. And so inevitably someone would get overwhelmed. There were tears constantly. Everyone would need a diaper change. I mean, it was so hard back then. And now we just had this one little boy who's now quite independent because he's 8 years old. And it was so simple. And I don't know, my husband and I both felt old and melancholy. So those were the downsides. But then the upsides were, yeah, but this is like minimal stress. Like, that's great. Probably especially great because now we are old. We can't handle that kind of stress anymore of having 3 littles that we're pushing around. And so it was kind of an interesting experience, actually. And then he got a McDonald's Happy Meal afterward, which they had in the United States. You still get a toy with your Happy Meal. They are fortunately moving a little bit more away from the bad, horrible plastic toys that, the kid plays with once and then it gets thrown away. And you know how I feel about plastic waste. But for October, they did go back and they did have their Halloween pails. So he got a Halloween pail. Yeah, it was a good night for him. So that happened recently. And then he does have a Christmas dance too, a holiday dance that's coming up next month, which that one is going to require more scheduling stuff going on. My husband and I should both make it, no problem. But middle daughter will have a wrestling duel that night that she will have to be at. So I'll have to make sure that she has rides arranged. There should be a bus that will take them out there, and then I'll just have to make sure that there's someone that can take her back home. Often with wrestling, the bus does not stay and offer rides back home. Transportation in wrestling is difficult. There's also never buses for the Saturday tournaments. So wrestling requires a lot of carpooling anyway. So other parents are very accustomed to that. So I'll have to make sure that she has rides arranged for that. But that's the night of my son's Christmas performance. He did have to miss dance class this past week. A dear friend of mine, the same friend that I did the cross-country trip with in June, moved her back from Colorado to Michigan after being in Colorado for 15 years. Her dad unexpectedly passed away. I knocked my camera again a couple weeks ago. Yeah, her dad unexpectedly passed away a couple weeks ago. which very hard for her. The expectation was that her mom would go first. Her mom is in late stages Alzheimer's. And that was actually why she moved back home, as her dad had requested her to move back home in order to help out with mom more. And then dad went. He had a heart attack, and then his heart quit working once he got to the hospital. So, he was 82, so he was not young. He did have a whole full life, but it was still definitely a shock, and it left my friend. See, these wandering drills. I don't like this, guys. But now my friend is feeling, I think, very overwhelmed. Because now she has mom. Plus, she has an older brother who is very disabled. He lives in like an adult foster home type situation. I'm also trying to look for other ones in here. I think that's about all of them. And so now she also has him to deal with, mom to deal with. She does have a younger brother who has always been in the area. And I know, he will be very helpful and everything, but he has a family of his own versus my friend, it's just her. So she's feeling very overwhelmed. And last week during Havelock's, my son's normal dance class time, it was the visitation. So we went to that and everything because that was obviously very, very important to do. So, just kind of think of her a little bit. She's going through a lot right now. Talk about some major, major transitions in life. She moves across the country and moves back into her parents' house. And now her dad has suddenly passed away. And now she's trying to navigate everything. Now she has this whole house and her mom and organizing all the necessary care for her mom. And my friend still has to work full time. Like she can't just be mom's caregiver. So there's a lot going on there. All right. Other news. I know for those of you that did catch up with me last time, I did talk about my extended absence and what's been going on with me, and that I have been in a pretty dark place lately. Every day presents some new struggles, including some major struggles with friends and stuff. I have one friend who is really struggling right now. She has been in and out of the hospital. Then, of course, my friend who lost her dad. And then some local friends, their son, as a 9-year-old fourth grader, had a stroke last week out of the blue. Another friend, their 19-year-old son died in a car accident last week. Horrific stuff that's been going on. And of course, when you yourself are already really struggling with depression, sometimes seeing people around you struggle with, even greater issues can make you feel really, really guilty. Like, what the heck is your problem? You have no money and you have no reliable transportation. Like, that's minimal. At least you're all still alive. Nobody is in the hospital fighting for their life. Come on, let's get your priorities straight. So it can make you feel really, really bad. And so I've kind of been struggling with that a little bit, while still acknowledging that, no, you have been in a hard place yourself and you need to figure out how to move forward and how to find your own healing, especially because in order to continue being a really good source of support for these friends, I really need to be in a good place myself. So that's been an interesting thing the last week, especially. On the job front, I'm still substitute teaching. I teach again tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm not immensely looking forward to because it's like 4 advanced math classes and 1 like basic finance class. So out of those advanced math classes, I mean, like 2 of them are what 12th graders who don't end up going through pre-calc take. So it's kind of, it's actually like the second semester of Algebra 2. But even watered down a little bit from that. So like that's math that I can probably still get my head around okay. And then the other 2 classes are pre-calc, which forget it. It's been so many years. And then the last class is, I think, a really great class. It's like basic finances. So working with a checking account and understanding interest rates and that kind of stuff. Loan repayments. I think it's a phenomenal class. But I already happen to know that he has a lot of kind of problematic students in that group. So we'll see what tomorrow's like. In addition to that, fortunately, the planning period lines up with, for my other job that I haven't actually really started yet, the monthly meeting is tomorrow during what will be my planning period. So I guess it's a good thing that that lines up. It just makes for kind of a intense, confusing type of day. So the other job I did last week, I received my first person to work with, and I did meet with my director this morning in a meeting to kind of go over and figure out what it is that I need to do and the forms that I have to have filled out with the first meeting with this person. It's pretty confusing and it's pretty overwhelming, and this person will need to have all of their annual stuff redone again in January, or certainly before the end of February. And I found out this morning that my director is going to be on maternity leave really soon. She's due February 14th, and it's her first kid. So she, doesn't know really anything at this point about how her body will handle end of pregnancy stuff. Like, is she going to be a full termer? I mean, usually with first babies, you do go due date or beyond, but not always. So, I mean, she doesn't know any of that and then I'm not going to have a director anymore to help me out. And it is so much paperwork. I mean, so much paperwork. So I'm a little nervous about that, but I think I'm glad that I do at least finally have a person. It's 1 hour of paid work a month at the most. So it's it's not like I'm really making money yet, but it's, I guess we can say, a step in the right direction. Maybe. Can we say that? We'll say that. That's what we're going to say. That's what we're going to say about that. So, yeah, that's where life stands for me right now. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap this up. I feel like the green that I've been laying has been going better, but that's mostly because, and it isn't because I just looked, but it's mostly because it hasn't been straight lines that I've been having to put it down. And then when I looked down here, this was a straight line down here. I had a drill popping again. So no, it's pretty consistent that these drills do not fit on this canvas well. And like, I got to stop trying to monkey with this line. It's not ever going to look right. It's not a straight line. You can see guidelines too behind the drills, kind of all over. I mean, it's just the way that it is, and I can't do anything about it. But it is really annoying. Oh, it is so annoying to me. But the drills are just too large. They don't fit on the canvas well. So definitely that is one huge negative check for me. And I'm disappointed because I did not have that with the last one that was kind of similar to this. But it wasn't the same because it was on a different weight canvas. Like, this is actually a nicer canvas than the other one. It's quite a bit heavier. But yeah, this drill's not fitting the canvas is making me go a little bit loony. But anyway, when it is done, I will still show that to you guys. You guys will still eventually see this finished product. I'm going to try and push through and just get it done so that I can hopefully find some kind of redeeming value to this. Otherwise, please definitely take the time to let me know what you would like to see for the holidays with my channel, or any ideas that you have. I really need to hear from you regarding that. And thank you in advance. All right, guys. So like I always say at the end of every episode, and I say it because it is so important. It is something that I try very, very hard to live my life by and to always keep in mind. And that is simply to be kind. You don't know what someone is going through. You don't know their current life circumstance. You have no clue what that person has experienced. So just be kind. Just be patient and be kind. And that can go a very, very long way. I hope that you are shown that same type of respect, that same type of kindness. And I hope that you're having a wonderful day. I'll see you again real soon.